Great, so now we're going on to the creatures. All right, hope you guys are still with me. Sorry, taking pretty long. So for the creatures, I'm running, let me try to put them together so it makes more sense. Oh yeah, I also need to mention that whether or not you guys have noticed, but I curved down a lot of my cards. So I try not to run anything above 5 or like even above 4. There's only maybe like 10 cards or less that it's around like 5 or 6. But it's like, it has to be good enough to warrant a spot if it's more than 4 mana, basically. So anyways, moving on. So Harmonic Sliver, Reclamation Sage, really good. Comes in playables of artifact enchantments. You really want that. Flexibility is really good. Fierce Empath. I put this later on because there's like, I think 2 creatures that are 6 mana cost, and this is one of the better ways to get them out or like sort of synergize into. Recruiter of the Guard. There's several creatures that are really important to support the commander, and they are toughness 2 or less, so that's why it's in here. Found Watch, really useful, makes all your artifact enchantments can be target of spells or abilities. You will never cast anything or like, touch your artifact enchantments, so this is pretty much just a one-sided thing, as in protects your entire board. All right, so here's one of the 6 mana creatures I've been mentioning, Sun Titan. Really, really good card. Comes into play, and with Samut, because she gives other creatures haste, he swings immediately. So he comes in, he swings, so he effectively gets 2 things that are a mana cost 3 or less from graveyard on the battlefield. It's really rare that people would be able to out attrition you or like bring in more value than you once you have this guy out. Godo, this is, I would say, almost like a like a lieutenant, because you play him at 6. The equipment comes into the field. It doesn't automatically equip, but by that time you might have a Hammer of Nazan out, and if that's the case, then it becomes like a 6 mana fetch and equipment put into play, automatically equipped to Samut. Really great. And when he swings in, he gives a second combat phase. So it's kind of like a lot of value packed into one single card. Of course, he costs 6, but once again, that's the value I see it brings to me, and that's why I'm willing to run him. Stone Hero Giant, really interesting. I played with it, I've taken it out, I put it back in. A lot of scenarios, by the time you're able to cast him, brings in a lot of value. Even though there's like 14 equipment in the deck, there are times that you just don't draw into them, and giving a repeatable way to just take it from the library directly into play is really important, because putting it into your hand means you have to cast it and whatnot. So he just does it for 2 mana once he's on the board. Stoneforge Mystic, I'll say like this is kind of like the a smaller version of Stone Hero Giant. In a way, a lot of people say that she's better, and I don't disagree. I mean, I mostly use her for the tutor effect. I don't have any equipment that is extremely high mana cost. 4, I think 4 is the highest, and that's just the Hammer of Nazan. Everything else is 3 or less. Once again, I say, like I've said before, I curve down everything. So you're not really gonna search for Battle Skull in this situation, because it doesn't offer you anything more than just life gain. And Samut already has like Vigilance. Eternal Witness, you're running green, you definitely want to run it. Tutorable through the Recruiter of Guard and other assets. And here's one interesting thing that I really like. So Woodland Bellower, I use this to bring out a lot of interesting plays. So a lot of the 3 mana ETB creatures we've gone through so far, they destroy artifacts, they bring lands into play, they're able to search for other 6 mana creatures. So there's different situations. This card always brings you something different every single game. You won't be searching for the same same ETB guy every single time you play him. It's always going to be something different, and I like that flexibility. So Tajnar's Swordsmith. So unfortunately, he's toughness 3, so you can't really get him with Recruiter of Guard, but it's really nice because once again, all my equipment are very low casting cost. So very often I pay him for 4 and I pay X as 1. So that's like 5 mana. I can bring a Basilisk Caller or Onaginata into play to really put down that pressure. So Leonin Abunas. So this protects all the artifacts from spells or abilities your opponent controls. So it just protects your equipment basically. One really nice thing about him is that he's also like a 5 toughness, and there are quite a lot of times it's relevant. A lot of especially I think in 1 year of the commanders, a lot of them were like at 4 attack power or something like that. So he's able to block them. It's nice. I used to run the Metalcraft Angel, but I don't anymore because she needs Metalcraft. And having 3 artifacts in play to trigger that Metalcraft to give him Shroud is just way too much work. Very often you're playing a fair game. You're not trying to combo off. You're not trying to put your opponent at an extreme advantage. You're trying to advance your board and make it hard for them to deal with you. You're trying to create threats as opposed to like have too many answers. Like this is already quite like I'm already running quite a lot of answers. I find for like a Voltron deck, but still, love this card ever since it was printed. So Renegade Rallier, he can ramp you. Okay, just so we understand, Revolt almost always happens. Otherwise, you don't play him. But you have so many ways to get Revolt, so it shouldn't be an issue. So he either ramps you, he brings back like a Sakura Tribe Elder. He brings back some other form of utility. It's just really rare that I'm unhappy casting this guy. So we're on to the final parts. Oh no, well, almost final part. The sorceries that run. So Green Sun Zenith, you can go through your entire deck of creatures because most of the important ones are in green anyways. Of course, this is excluding Glowdo, this is excluding the Sun Titan. But guess what? Like I said just now, I'm also running the Fierce Empath. So you could run this to Fierce Empath into the 6 mana non-greens. It's not exactly the most efficient, but we do what we can, right? If not, then you can pay excess. Pay excess 3. So that means you're paying 4 to blow up an enchantment, to get a land from your Wood Elves and whatnot. Steel Shaper's Gift, amazing card. 1 mana, search for any equipment you want, put into your hand. So depending on what type of like meta you play in, what other commanders you have to deal with, this is 1 card that can search for the other 14. Refurbish. People will destroy your equipments. People will find ways to put into the graveyard. This gets you back for 4 mana, puts it directly into play. Great to play. Seasons Pass. I haven't had experience running this, but a good friend of mine once played it, and I was like, wow, that's pretty ridiculous. So because my deck is made in such a way that it curves up all the way, like I say, it curves up to 6, but there's a lot of different cards at every single mana cost. So very often, Seasons Pass, in theory, will be able to bring you at least 2 to 3 different cards. The other one I run for some sort of like value is Restock. So this one is straight up 5 mana. So it's 1 mana less, but it gets you 2 cards no matter what they are. So that's really good. So the Seasons Pass is more like it's nice if you have 6 mana. It's nice to have a second Restock, so that's why I'm running it. But anyways, Restock is the back and bone of getting back whatever was destroyed. Okay, so open the Armory is basically a 2 mana fetch for any equipment. So it's the same as Steel Shaper's Gift. Just cost that 2, a bit of redundancy. You want to have as much access to the 14 equipments that you have and to be able to select which one you need depending on what situation you're in. So having, costing 1 mana more really is just nothing. It's great. It's just like another piece of the puzzle. Then finally, these two remaining sorceries, they're both card draw. So 4 mana Harmonize is really great. I mean, if you have something else to play that's, in your hand, you play that. But I mean, if Harmonize is one of your last cards, you have nothing else you want to deal with, this is amazing. Just refills your hand. Rickshaw's Expertise, once again, the same. You can draw according to whatever's on the field. Most of the time, Samut will let you be there. So you'll draw at least 3 cards. If she has a sword attached to her, you'll draw like 5. And then you can cast another card that's 5 mana card or 5 mana cost or less. That's really great. so it sort of replaces itself in a way. I only run one Planeswalker in this deck, and it's a Garruk Primal Hunter, because, you know, there's just so many scenarios whereby you just don't have enough card draw, and he's one of the options that's quite nice. If you get, for example, if you give like Samut a pro green, you wouldn't be able to target her. But the nice thing about every single card draw I have in here, it doesn't target. You don't need to target a creature to do that. So Garruk would draw cards equal to greatest power among creatures controlled. Usually it's 3 or more. Okay, so on to the last part, which is the enchantments. So I'm running Sigarda's Aid. Really, really, really great card. People don't want to get rid of it, but they have to get rid of it because they don't know what's in your hand, you know. So if you swing in and you throw in equipment, you destroy the board or whatnot, it gives people a lot of stress. I like it. Mirai's Wake, really important. If you're running green and white, you definitely have to have this. Indirectly doubles up your mana and gives the +1/+1 is also very, very relevant in the deck. You know, giving Samut that extra +1 could mean that you close the game 1 turn earlier. There were several situations whereby I wish I had that extra damage, and this provides it. So Dueling Grounds, it's a nice way to like stagnate the board to make sure that, you know, people can swing in with weenies and whatnot. And Samut has Vigilance, so they will never be able to like hit through her. Sterling Grove is there to protect the other few enchantments I have, and at the same time, you know, it lets you search up other enchantments if you need to. And finally, Privileged Position, it protects everything on the board. I've been very happy putting it in, and it's really, you really have to play it. I mean, if you play your Privileged Position, it's really rare that you slot this card out for anything else. All right, so thanks. That's the end of my first deck tech. It took longer than expected, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. Feel free to leave your comments if you like the deck, any questions about why I made it a certain way, and let me know what you guys think, if I should make more of these kind of videos. All right, thanks.